Amazon just reported another quarter of record revenues, record profits, record Prime memberships, record delivery speeds. By every public metric, the world's largest retailer is absolutely dominating. But if you look under the hood of that trillion-dollar engine, you'll find a very different story. Over 60% of the products sold on Amazon aren't actually sold by Amazon. They are sold by independent third-party sellers, small businesses, entrepreneurs, side hustlers, the people who actually built the marketplace. So why are so many of them quietly going broke? The numbers tell two very different stories depending on who you are. For Amazon the company, everything is going up. But for the average independent Amazon seller, the maths stopped working a long time ago. Back in 2016, the golden era of Fulfilled by Amazon or FBA, the average seller kept around 30% of their revenue after Amazon took its cut. You could source a product, list it, and make a real living. You could build a business from your kitchen table that could one day replace your salary. Today, that profit margin has collapsed to closer to 11%, and that is before they've even paid for advertising. And on modern Amazon, advertising is no longer optional. Let's walk through what it actually costs to sell a product on Amazon today. You do the market research, you source a product, you pay for shipping to get it to an Amazon fulfillment center. Already, before a single unit has even been listed, you are bleeding capital. Then come the platform fees. First, the referral fee. Amazon takes typically 8 to 15% of your sale price just for the privilege of listing in their store. Next, the fulfillment fee. Amazon picks, packs, and ships your order. That's another £3 to £6 per unit, depending entirely on its size and weight. If you're selling something heavy, this fee alone can wipe out your margin. Then the storage fee. Your stock sits in their warehouse. If it doesn't sell fast enough, you pay monthly. If it sits there for more than a year, you get hit with long-term storage penalties that are aggressively punitive. Amazon is a logistics company, not a landlord, and they will punish you for taking up their shelf space. Now add advertising, because without it, your product is buried on page 47 of the search results, and you will sell absolutely nothing. You are a ghost in the machine. The average cost per click on Amazon advertising has tripled in the last 4 years. The platform has effectively become a pay-to-play search engine. In competitive categories like electronics, supplements or home goods, sellers are routinely forced to spend 30 to 40% of their top line revenue just to stay visible. Every time a customer clicks your sponsored listing, Amazon takes another bite out of your profit. You run the numbers today and the margin isn't just thin, often it's negative. You are paying Amazon for the privilege of giving away your inventory. You aren't building a business, you are a volunteer fundraiser for Jeff Bezos. So how is anyone making money? To understand that, you have to look at the two groups who actually beat the system, and they couldn't be more different. The first group arrived early, scaled fast and got out before the trap snapped shut. The pandemic era of 2020 to 2022 was a golden window for e-commerce. Lockdowns forced consumers online, retail stores were closed, competition was relatively lower, ad costs were manageable, margins were still real. Sellers who built strong brands in that window suddenly found themselves being courted by Wall Street. Enter the aggregators. These were massive corporate entities backed by private equity. They raised billions of dollars with a single goal: buy up profitable Amazon seller accounts, consolidate them, apply professional management, and scale them to the moon. They operated under the assumption that the pandemic era boom would last forever. Sellers who sold their accounts to these aggregators walked away with life-changing multi-million-pound exits. They won the game. They cashed out at the absolute peak of the market. But the aggregators themselves, the reality hit them hard. Once the pandemic boom faded, shipping container costs skyrocketed, and Amazon's fees kept rising, the margins collapsed. Several of the biggest aggregator companies who had raised billions have since gone bankrupt or been forced into aggressive debt restructuring. They were left holding the bag. The smart money left early. But what about the second group making real money today? They don't pay Amazon's middleman fees at all, not in the way you might think, because the second group is the factories themselves, the massive manufacturing hubs overseas. For years, Western Amazon sellers operated on a simple arbitrage model. They would source products from factories overseas, ship them to their home countries, slap a custom brand logo on the box and sell them at a massive markup. But the manufacturers aren't stupid. They watched Western sellers make millions off their own products, so they figured out the platform themselves. Today, these factories list directly on Amazon. They manufacture at base cost, they have absolutely zero middleman markup, they can afford to sell at retail prices that make absolutely no financial sense to a Western business. And they have armies of workers who specialize in manipulating the Amazon algorithm. They generate thousands of fake reviews. They aggressively upvote each other's products. They run brushing scams where they ship empty packages to random addresses, just to generate a verified tracking number for a 5-star review. If Amazon bans their double seller account for violating terms of service, it doesn't matter. They simply open 10 more accounts the next day under shell companies. It is a hydra, a product that costs a UK seller £12 just to source, ship and store, meaning they have to sell it for £25 just to break even, has a direct manufacturer listing the exact same item from the exact same assembly line for $9.99. You simply cannot compete with your own supplier. This is the structural reality that the get-rich-quick with Amazon FBA gurus on YouTube, the ones selling you a £2,000 course, refuse to admit out loud. And then there is the shadow economy of failure, the return pallets. What happens to the millions of items that don't sell, or the items that get returned by customers who abuse Amazon's notoriously generous return policy? For an independent seller, dealing with the returns is a nightmare. Paying to have unsellable inventory shipped back to their house, or paying Amazon to properly dispose of it, is incredibly expensive. Often it's cheaper just to surrender the inventory entirely. Because of this, a massive secondary market has exploded. Liquidators buy these returned, damaged or surrendered items from Amazon by the truckload, entirely sight unseen. They purchase them for pennies on the pound. They then break these massive pallets down into smaller mystery boxes and sell them to desperate side hustlers on TikTok and eBay. They market them as get-rich-quick liquidation hauls. It is an entire secondary economy built entirely on the mathematical failure of the primary economy. Amazon still gets paid its liquidation fees. The liquidators flip the trash for a guaranteed profit, and the person at the absolute bottom of the chain ends up with a box of broken garlic presses, missing puzzle pieces and defective phone chargers that they can never sell. It's the ultimate trickle-down scam. The house always wins. So, amidst all of this, what does the future actually look like for independent sellers? Is it entirely hopeless? Not entirely. The ones surviving today are surviving by fundamentally changing how they operate. They are doing one of 3 things. First, genuine brand building. They aren't just slapping a fake logo on a generic imported product anymore. That era is dead. They are inventing new products from scratch. They are filing patents. They are building real communities on social media and cultivating real customer loyalty. It is significantly harder, it is infinitely slower, but it is defensible against factory clones, because people aren't buying the product, they are buying the brand. Second, they are getting off Amazon entirely. The smartest sellers are using Amazon merely as a customer acquisition tool. They put flyers or discount codes inside their Amazon packaging to drag buyers over to their own direct-to-consumer websites. They use Amazon to find the customer, and then they capture that customer's email address so they never have to surrender 40% of their revenue to Jeff Bezos again. Third, they are going incredibly niche, finding categories that are simply too small, too technical, or too boring for massive direct manufacturers or aggregators to bother targeting. They are selling hyper-specific industrial parts, specialized hobbyist tools, or obscure replacement components. It's not sexy. You aren't going to get rich selling a specialized rubber gasket, but it's profitable, and the factories don't care enough to steal your lunch. The lesson of Amazon's third-party marketplace isn't complicated. Platforms extract value. That is simply what platforms do. It is the life cycle of the internet economy. They start by offering you access, a massive, hungry audience, seamless infrastructure, 2-day shipping logistics you could never build yourself in a million years. And the deal seems incredibly fair for a while. You provide the inventory, they provide the customers, and everybody wins. Then, slowly, systematically, the terms of the deal shift. The referral fees rise, the storage costs inflate, the advertising algorithms change to squeeze more cash from your margins. And eventually the platform either moves into your category directly with an Amazon Basics clone, or allows your own overseas supplier to undercut you. And that 30% margin you thought you had quietly disappears into the ether. You wake up one morning and realize you don't own a business, you just manage inventory for Amazon. The sellers who understood this earliest, who built true brands instead of just listings, and who diversified their income before the squeeze, those are the only ones still standing. Every economic system has a golden window. The only question is whether you realize you're inside it before the window finally closes.